Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me here live tonight on both YouTube and Facebook. Tonight we are going to cut up all of this fabric and make big chunks of sashing to put in between our Aurifill block of the months. So this is the project that we worked on last year. And we finished all the blocks, but now we need to sew it into a quilt so they don't just stay blocks forever. So that's the plan for tonight. Thanks for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That's Monday through Friday. And I'm here for about an hour, and I work on projects from beginning to end, so you guys can be part of the process along the way. So again, we are working on the Aurifill block of the month project again. This is basically our free week. The last week of every month is going to be our free open week that we can work on whatever project we want to. We made a cute little pillow on Monday and Tuesday. And yesterday we brought back this project, which sort of ended last year, but it ended with blocks and not a finished quilt. So in some of these free weeks, we'll pull this guy out again when we feel like it and work on it. So I think we got a little bit of a plan drawn up last night. That was kind of what we did last night, is just kind of sketch out an idea for a quilt. And we're going to start executing that tonight. So thanks for joining me again. Let's get going. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for popping in. Again, both on YouTube and Facebook here. Oh, Mary Jane is saying, hi, I saw the Aurifill layout, and I like yours just as well. So Aurifill and Pat Sloan did release their quilt setting, like how they're arranging the blocks for the quilt. Actually, it's done, the top for that, and it looks so amazing. And I kind of wanted to talk about this today, so I definitely kind of want you guys to go check that out, see how Pat Sloan put together these blocks. I think it is gorgeous as all heck. It is beautiful how she laid it out. And I showed you guys a picture of what we're going to be doing for this quilt. I posted it in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group and in my stories. I'm taking a totally different approach, and I was thinking about it a lot today, and I think it's because our end goals are different that they ended up being so different. So I encourage you to go check out that post. I'm gonna chit chat, and I'm gonna iron these while I talk about it. But so hers is just kind of striking. Like it's just a beautiful. Every block is showcased, and it has like some colors, and so that kind of brings back the idea of, hey, we did all these colors in this quilt. It does a really good job at showcasing every block, and from far away you could see that quilt and be like, whoa, I gotta go walk over and see that quilt, which is exactly the purpose of it, right? Her quilt, which is the Aurifill official quilt, is going to be shown in Aurifill booths and wherever Aurifill wants to display it. So the whole real objective is to see it from far away and then want to go see it up close and to go closer and then dig into every block. So I think it is perfect for that. It definitely does that job really, really, really well. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh man, that's really cool. I really like how striking that is. But then I was thinking about my end goal a little bit more. And mine is just going to be like, I want it to feel like a comfy, homey quilt that will actually be in use, like in the living room. You're never going to see it from far away. Especially in my little living room here, where I can't even take a photo of it because it's just such a little space. I can't lay it out on the floor really. So my objective is to kind of bring it all back together so it has like that homey feel, I kind of think. And to me, this whole entire quilt, like all the blocks are so different, and some of them are just like straight out like super fancy and detailed and stuff. And I didn't know if I really wanted to showcase that much. I'd rather it kind of all kind of merge together into like this colorful deal. So for me, it was less about showcasing the blocks and more about how can I mash this all back together and have all these blocks be cohesive with each other, even though they're completely different, and really the only thing is that's holding it together is that gray, and the fact that they're kind of rainbowy. I suppose that could be a theme. So I think this idea of having these really big sashing pieces with all of the rest of the fabric. First of all, I like the idea that I'm using up my fabric. I feel like it's kind of honoring the fabric, and then you can find it in the blocks. But I feel like I'm kind of putting the blocks in some soup, really. for that comfort home kind of patchwork feeling. But when you look closer, you can still see all the intricate blocks. So mine's kind of anti-showing off the blocks, and I'm thinking I'm good with that. I thought a lot about it today because I do really like the idea of, I liked how Pat showcased them and everything. But then I'm like, you know what? I have different objectives for my quilt. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. But like, I seriously was I was thinking about that a bunch today. And you know what? So we're doing like really non-fancy sashing. It's actually going to look pretty clunky, really. But I feel like we're going to have like this middle merge where we do like the cornerstones, because I still want to do where in between the sashing. So they're like, like if these are our blocks, then the little bits in between the sashing. So it's kind of like a checkerboard with these like mini blocks. They're called cornerstones, where those sashing pieces merge. Those I want to do actual quilt, blocks for. So like the simplest quilt units, like a half square triangle, or a couple flying geese units, or whatever, a log cabin, just like the absolute simplest blocks ever. But they'll still look like these cute blocks. So I think that's maybe a bridge from these fancy blocks, which are the Aurifill ones, are kind of big sashing pieces. And then it kind of bridges that gap, these cute little bits in the middle, the cornerstones. So, I don't know, that's the theory I'm sticking with right now. So right now, I'm kind of going through, we went through all the fabric that I had left over last night, and so tonight, I need to press it, and probably don't need to press the whole thing, but wow, this fabric is weird. It's like pulling on my iron a little bit, but I would like to cut these. So by the end of the night, I want all of our sashing pieces cut, and then Friday, tomorrow, we can actually start making some of these cute little blocks. So a lot of you have been telling me different blocks, simple, unit building blocks. Even posting that in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, which is perfect. I'm going to compile those tomorrow, and I'm going to try and Google them all, because I don't, I'm not going to know how to do all of them, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do it for a 4-inch square, or like a 4.5 inch that will ultimately be a 4-inch square. I'm going to have to figure out how to do all those, because some of them have triangles, and then you're getting into weird measurements and stuff. But I need 20 of them. So that's kind of a lot. And I thought it'd be kind of fun if they were all different. So it'd be another way to use up some more of our scraps here. And then some of our gray. Each one of those will have some gray in it. None of these sashings will be the gray, but the the gray will come back with the cornerstones. So anyway, I thought that'd be kind of fun. It can be like a little lesson for all of us on like the building blocks of quilt blocks. And then I'll learn all their names, because they all have their own little names, like flying geese, half square triangle, log cabin, oh gosh. What's that? Those church steps. That's not what they're called, though. Oh, there's so many, and they all have names. So, I'm gonna do a little learning on that, and we can go through some of those basic blocks together. I think that'd be fun. Ooh, like an hourglass block. Oh, Charlotte says, that's a great explanation for how to consider the purpose of your quilt as part of the design. Yep, I think, you always have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, what am I really using this for? That's always a nice way to reflect, and a lot of times it's like, okay, you know what, this is just right for what I need. That it helps with the, like, comparison deal. Like, a lot of times, like with Pat Sloan's today, I'm like, dang, that looks so good. Is mine just too simple? And then I just had to really think about it. It's really, you gotta think about that final use, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I like mine. It serves what I need it to do, and I think it's gonna be cute. But yeah, always something to reflect on. I think that's a good deal. Especially when you start seeing like what everyone else is doing. Oh yeah, so Sally says, you're right, Alyssa, each quilt has a different purpose, some for your home, some for family and friends, and some for a quilt show. Yep. Yeah, and even that, like, for yourself is definitely different than family and friends, too, because, different family and friends are different, too. Like, you might not do, like, a super intricate, like, wedding ring quilt or something that's a huge king-size thing that took you, 3,000 years to do. You might not just give that to anybody. When they really want a t-shirt quilt, and, for yourself, you might, like, this is what I do all the time here, is like, I just kind of want to learn how to do that one technique, and I don't really care what it's going to look like, and I'll be happy that it uses up fabric, and so that I might not want to give to someone, but I'm happy with it in my house. And then, yeah, if you're doing something that's going to be judged at a quilt show, that is a different arena altogether. And it depends on the quilt show and stuff, too. So it's thinking about all that. Most of what we do here is just for my own pleasure, I guess. And trying new things out. That's the big thing is, for me, is just like experimenting. Whether it's a new technique or it's like, I wonder what this crazy fabric would look like with this crazy fabric. Let's see. I like that. Oh, Lisa says, I love that, the fact that you're using all these fabrics that were in the blocks. It makes sense. So I'm hoping that this is a way to, first of all, use up fabric, because we use a different fat quarter. Like, we didn't repeat anything in this whole quilt. We used so many, like 40 plus probably fat quarters. So those were perfectly good fat quarters that I cut into, right? So I kind of want to get my use out of them, versus them all going into some, sort of scrap bin of some sort, something that I know isn't a fat quarter anymore. So like when a project needs a fat quarter, I can't grab any of these. So I want to get some more mileage out of them for one. But yeah, I am hoping that the colors will kind of, since they are the same colors that are used in the quilt, it'll kind of meld it all together again. I'm hoping, so like instead of showcasing, I want it to all kind of merge together. So all of the blocks feel like they belong together. Versus being showcased sort of individually. So I guess that's kind of my deal. Sally says, yes, quilt show judges can be brutal. They can be. That is quilt police land. I mean, it's more about technical skill than anything. Like, did you bury all your knots? Are all your stitches the exact same length? And, all those details. As if that's what makes a quilt, but, it's less, I feel like a lot of traditional quilt show judging is solely on technical aspects, how good is your skill at this one technical thing, and it's less artistry, I think, even though they can be beautiful pieces of art for sure. But that doesn't mean that that's what the judges are are judging on. So that's a whole other world for sure. All right, so this is taking forever. I'm just gonna, I'm going through all these things. I do want to iron them because I kind of want to stack them to cut, just because that'll make cutting go a whole lot faster, and cutting is one of my least favorite deals. Oh, Pamela says that she doesn't have any sound. Maybe she needs to reinstall Facebook, maybe? I'm not sure. Oh, Lisa says, so no rag quilts at a quilt show. Well, it depends on the quilt show, but I've probably told this story before. It still kind of irks me. We have the Minnesota State Fair is here in Minneapolis, basically, or St. Paul. So it's local for me, and I brought a couple things in one year, because why not? It's right here. I make stuff. Let's see if I can get something in the craft barn. And I did end up getting a doily that I crocheted in the fair, which was awesome. But I remember when I was dropping stuff off, I was dropping off a quilt that I made. This is just to enter the contest to see, whatever, and then you pick it up later, right? You get it judged, and then it either gets to be in the fair or not. But I remember I brought the Octopus Quilts that some of you guys might know from my book, and I just love it. I think it's so sweet. It's just a totally simple quilt, but it has a lot of embroidery on it. But I tied it, so I didn't use a sewing machine to quilt it. I did it with a bazillion tiny little ties, like pearl cotton floss ties, and they wouldn't even take it to be judged. Like, the most basic thing is just you hand them the bag of your thing, and then they take it, and then they judge it and give it back to you or whatever, right? They wouldn't even take it because they're like, oh, that's a tied. That's tied. A tied quilt. Like, I already know the judge is just gonna, eliminate it or whatever because it's tied. And I'm like, the heck? First of all, it's still a quilt. Whether it's tied together or stitched together with stitches. And they weren't even the judge. They were pre-judging whether my quilt was a quilt or not. So I still got still annoyed by that, if you can't tell. Because it, whatever. So that's kind of what I think about quilt judging. Anyway. Ugh. Just so annoying. And, you know, like what gets me is the judge could have told me that. They could have said, you know, on the little piece of paper that they fill out to judge each of my little whatevers, they could have said, you know, this isn't really a quilt in my brain because you did ties. They didn't even let it get that far. Kills me. Like, what a worse way to, like, discourage someone from even trying, right? And I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately too. I started doing some more TikToks. I don't know if you guys saw, but I was showing how to do a few things, and there were a couple comments from people like, oh my god, I didn't, you know, I showed them how to do the loop method, actually, the loop method of stitching, starting your embroidery floss that we did with the last week for the embroidery of the month, that loop method. And someone said that, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known that. I was told when I started embroidery that my back was too messy, and then they stopped. And I asked her about it, and she's like, yeah, that was 20 years ago. I'm like too traumatized to like try it again. And that's what just kills me, because when you're doing one of these crafts, like when you're doing any of this, any quilting, any embroidery, you're putting yourself out there, right? You are asking yourself, like your inner self, to be vulnerable and make creative choices, right? That's scary, right? I mean, you get better at it, I think, over time, just being okay with those decisions, but really, especially if you've never done it before, that's scary. You're being vulnerable. So to be in that vulnerable moment and then get like critiqued on it too, like that can be traumatizing for sure. So I just felt so bad for this person that they had to go through that, like, you know, and this, you know, I don't know, just being critiqued on something when you're just learning and being told like, oh, well, the back's not very good. I don't know. Kills me. So I hope they try doing it again. So if any of you guys are feeling that way, please let us know, like in the group or here or whatever. I support you. Don't let those stitch police and quilt police and whatever keep you down. We will start from ground zero and, you know, give it another go. It could be something you still enjoy. That's what I want to say. All right, got all that out. Man, it's stressful. All right, we're almost, God, maybe we're not. I was thinking we're almost through ironing these. This is, you know, it's a job today, is ironing all these guys out, so thanks for bearing with me. I really probably don't need to iron the whole thing. We just need like a 4.5 by 12.5 inch piece, but again, I am going to be kind of stacking these, so that's why I'm kind of digging into the ironing a little bit. Ugh, this edge is kind of bad, but maybe I don't have to be as fancy as I am. I'm just getting talking, and then I'm just ironing the whole thing, I guess. I only need like a little bit of it. And I'm not repeating any of these either, so there will be, how many? We have it written down. Okay, so 31, there's 31 sashing pieces here, and they're all going to be different, but they're all going to be, they were all part of the quilt, although I don't remember using this one, but we must have used it for something, because it's in here, kept the project together. Dee Dee says, as one of my ladies on a machine embroidery site says, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be pretty. And pretty is totally in the eye of the beholder. So if you're enjoying yourself, if you feel like you did something creative and learned something along the way, or tried something, or, made visual creative decisions that ended up being something, I mean, that's beautiful. Ooh, this is pretty, 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 pretty. Now I'm just kind of going to get the edges. I'm going to be wasting a lot of fabric, but really not, because it's all Frankenstein anyway. I'm going to be, using some of this for the cornerstones too. So I'm probably just going to take this 18-inch side that most of these pieces have, cut my 4.5 inches, cross cut to the 12.5, and kind of be done. So I'm going to stack as many as I feel like I can, probably around 6. We'll see if I can, I did just put that new blade on, so I'm going to see if it can cut through 6 of these okay. Then we will only have to do it like 6 times or so with the 31. Oh, maybe 5 times. That'd be good. I don't want to be cutting all night. Cutting, still my least favorite thing to do. Ironing is second. So I'm just trying to slog through today, because tomorrow I want to get to making all these tiny little blocks, like these small little cornerstones. Like I said, I'm going to make that list. I'm going to look at what you guys told me as like good ideas for those small blocks in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, and feel free to keep commenting and adding to that list. There is no real list, just make a new comment of anyone that you might want me to try. I'm going for the most basic blocks, though. I don't want anything too fancy. But yeah, so I'm going to make a list of them. I need 20 total, and I'm going to make a list tomorrow and then try and look up how to do them. And we'll just start. I mean, I think for sure we could get several of them done. I mean, they're the easiest of blocks, right? So we just have to cut something and sew something, and we're probably done. So, man, I would like to think we could get, at least 7 of them done. Man, that sounds heavy. Maybe let's shoot for 5. If we can get 5 random blocks done, I think that'd be quite a bit. And I'm not going to worry about where they're going in the quilt or anything like that yet. We'll shimmy them all around when they're done. I know that they're all going to use the gray that we used in the background. Oh, that's going to be annoying because that was kind of hard to sew with, but oh well, we'll deal. And it's all going to use some of these colors. I'll probably, when I'm done cutting these, I'll probably stack them up, and each block will get a different one. Oh, there's only 20 of the cornerstones, though, and there's 30 of these colors, so we'll have to pick out our 20 favorites or something. All right, 2 more. We're almost there, you guys. Oh, Sally, thank you. Sally says, Alyssa, you know how to do so many different things, and they all turn out great. I've learned so much from you. Well, I'm definitely learning along the way. I mean, if you guys have been with me, some of you have been with me for a long time here. I've been doing these lives now for probably, probably over at least 4 years now, which is crazy town to me. So, almost every night for 4 years. And what I know now is definitely quadruple the amount that I knew when I started, and it's just from you guys knowing how to do stuff and teaching me, and just giving different things a try and working on these projects and working through the various things I don't know how to do with them. So, definitely developing my toolkit from just crafting with you guys. So I appreciate that a ton. I definitely, feel I can walk the walk a lot more than I used to be able to. So that's exciting to me for sure. So I'm just keeping on trying things and noticing when something's a little bit more difficult than it probably should be. So there's probably a technique there that I'm missing, and just trying to learn more. All right, this is kind of like not laying as flat anymore. Huh. Oh, I've kind of been laying on it a little. It's been on the back of my chair. I probably shouldn't do that. I'll not do that anymore. All right, we need 31 sashing pieces that are 12.5 by 4.5, so that when they're sewn, they'll be 12 by 4. And you know what? Let's make sure that that is actually the size of this block, because maybe I don't remember. Okay, yes, so 12.5 inches, that will be sewn together to be 12. So, all right, yep, we're right. So, I'm going to stack, wonder if this is 12 inches. Yeah, so I'm going to stack up, I didn't iron that side though, I'm going to just stack this side. I'm going to trim the edge of these, and then cut the 4.5 inches first, and then I'll rotate it right away and then cut the 12.5. So we'll just go, I'm going to go in like batches of 6, hopefully, and I'll just rotate this whole mat. And I think that's what we're going to do. All right. So the ironing, I think, is going to help quite a bit. We'll go, I guess I ironed. These last ones I only ironed in one place, so that kind of tells me where I got to cut them, I guess. So I'm just crossing them all over this line here, so cutting off selvages, that sort of thing. So that's 2. Oh, God, these are all so pretty together. Okay, 3. We'll go this way. Yeah, so what I laid out earlier, that photo, is not the layout. It's just to kind of see what this would even look like with a whole pile of colorful sashing. It's not the exact spot where it will all go. I'll decide that once we have all of the cornerstone blocks, all that made. Once we have all the sashing, all the blocks, and the cornerstones, once all that is done, I think, is that 5 or 6? 1. Then I'll lay the whole thing out, and then we can make decisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. This might be too many to cut through, but we'll find out right now, I suppose. All right, let's do it. I need to grab my ruler and my glove and rotary cutter. Let's roll up the sleeves. Okay, so let's chop off all these selvages first. I think I'm going to be like rotating my mat a lot today, which is kind of annoying, but that's okay. So I'll save all these and make pom-poms out of them, so those are going to the side. I'm just going to kind of flip this so it's not on the ground, and I'm just going to rotate this. Oh, I still don't have enough room here to do this, but this is going to be the easiest way to do this, I think. Just keep my big ruler here. And, all right, so 4.5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I'm reminded again that I don't especially like this ruler. I did not end up buying any rulers for Christmas or anything, but I just see, these pink lines for me are hard to see, and it's hard for me to tell that this is the 1/2 inch line. I don't know. For some reason, it shouldn't be. I mean, it's right there, but there's something about this ruler that isn't quite working for me. Okay. So, I mean, we still have like oodles and oodles of fabric left. I mean, we have crazy amounts of fabric left yet, so I'll stack this nicer later. For now, I'm just going to throw them down. Oh, we do have the back of the quilt yet, though, so there's work to be done yet. We have the back. Okay, what's the best way for this? I think I should have slid these so that they're over a cross line here. I'm just going to slide them all down, so next time I'll make sure that the bottoms are all good. Okay. I'm going to just trim off this edge over here. Again, these pieces I'll probably make into pom-poms. Ooh, see, maybe 6 is a little too many. Okay. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? This first round, I'm just kind of figuring it out, I think. I could use the ruler, or the mat to count to 12.5 inches, but I think I'm going to use the ruler. And I'm just going to go sideways, because this ruler is fat enough. Although my space isn't quite big enough. Get over there. 12.5 inches. Oh, and this doesn't even... See, the half-inch marks are weird on here, too. All right. Oh, that's 11.5. That would have been bad. Okay, so that should do it right there. And I'm going to count because I'm super paranoid. I can literally see that it's 12.5 there, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.5. Okay, I feel better. Let's trim. All right, so these are our first sashing pieces. They are chunky, but I kind of like that. I think it's going to be just a little bit different. It's going to add size to the quilt, which was goal number 1, and I did want to use up a whole lot more of this fabric. I think it's going to be fun. So, all right, first 6 down. I'm wondering if I can make this easier for myself with this mat, but we'll see. Let's get the next 6. So we just have to do that 5 more times, or 4 more times, hopefully. Then we'll be ready. Okay. Crossing over. Maybe I'll go 1 in. I won't go all the way to the edge. We'll cut on the 1-inch line. Kind of like this. This one's called Freckles. I like this one. This I think I can get. I guess it's not shorter. Well, I'll go this way. I suppose some of these are probably different thicknesses than other fabrics too. Four. This one did not press all that well, but that's how it goes. Oh, we must have used a lot of this gray. If this started out as a fat quarter, which I think it did. We used a lot. We used like half of it. Wow, these two are really pretty together. This would be a fun quilt. This would be like a fun like holiday quilt even. Oops. There we go. All right. Just lift these all up again. Rotate. So I don't bump anything. I don't want to move my fabric. I got this nice perfect edge with 6 of them there. Okay, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. Wow. I get so paranoid with this cutting. Like, I'm literally just, I know it's right, and my brain is still stopping me from doing it. Okay. Tons of fabric. Shoot. I really need to cut this side first. Fine, I'm just going to keep rotating. It seems to be working. Just doing it this way. Uh-oh. Kind of forcing it here. Okay, 12 and a half. About like so. 12 and a half. Oh, Kimberly's saying, I like the Moda's grunge white. I bet you that's great for everything. That just sounds like a classic, nice little textured fabric that you can use for, yeah, anything. All right, 6 more. So I also think that my photo that I took of me laying out all these fabrics today, you know, it was still pretty messy. It still felt busy and messy. But I think now that, you know, I'll be cutting them all, now that they're all cut, I think that's immediately going to make them feel more clean and nice. Is this even 12 inches? Yeah, plenty. There we go. But yeah, so every step along the way, I think will make it look more refined than what it did laying on the floor there too. I think it'll all work out, but it's always just a theory until you've done it, I guess. Ooh, now this guy isn't very long. Is there 12 inches here? Oh, there must be this way. Yeah, there is. Must have used a lot of this too. That's kind of surprising. Since we only used it like one of these per block. What was that, 3? We'll go this way. I'm going to do one more right away. Since one of these we got to do one more on. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. Oh, hey, Marilyn. So, yeah, I know. Isn't this like just like a bizarre group of fabrics? Like when you just see it, it's like, what the heck? They're all from this project that we just finished up in December. Well, we didn't really finish it, but we finished the blocks. So it was the Aurifill block of the month for last year. So Aurifill is the thread company that a lot of quilters like using. And I got to be one of their designers last year for this block of the month. So one of the blocks is mine, and I decided that I would just do the whole quilt along. And so we had one block a month, but the whole idea with the project was that each block was a whole basically different color scheme in half. And so every single, and then the only thing like carrying the colors through was a gray that was used in every single block. So the challenge I gave myself was I have this bin of fat quarters that are all random fat quarters. Like they're not, none of them are from my own fabric collection. I used to design fabric, so none of it is mine. It was my bin of random fat quarters that I've acquired, and I decided that's my challenge. Is I'm gonna use fat quarters from this bin. I'm gonna use different ones for each block because each of the 12 blocks was supposed to be a different color scheme. So that kind of meant that I used a ton of fabric, and they're all wacky colors. They're all random patterns because it's just, like I said, just no collection. It's just stuff I've acquired over the years that don't necessarily go together. And that was the challenge. Like, can we get this to all go together too? And that's still yet to be seen, I suppose. But yes, so that's why if you're like, why is she cutting all that different fabric and it looks crazy together? That's why. I'm hoping that we can make the crazy all go together. So it is reflected in the blocks. So every one of these fabrics was used in at least, one block. Not at least, it was only used in one block here and there. Oh my god. Okay, good. Psyched myself out. I saw the 11 over here and I freaked out. Okay, so I think we're still cutting at 12 and a half. But yeah, so we're working on really big sashing, which is kind of bizarre, something I haven't done before, but I think it's going to be fun. Let's see, how many more rounds of this do we have? Like maybe 3. I'm going to go tonight until we finish cutting all this, because I want to be done cutting these sashing bits tonight. But that's the project. It's the Aurifill block of the month. Oh yeah, so Marilyn says that she watched it on Pat Sloan's group. Yeah, so that's the deal. That's the project, and that's why all the crazy colors, all the bright fun colors. I think we were talking about her setting today. She released, or it was released on Aurifill. I don't know if there was instructions. I didn't dig right in. I didn't dig too far into it, but I did just like. I saw it. I saw the setting, and it's just really beautiful. Kind of talked earlier how I think her setting kind of showcases the blocks really, really well. And if you were across the room, you would walk over to look at it more, which is its exact purpose. And I think for mine, I kind of want to meld all the blocks into like one mass a little bit more. And I think by just having these big color bits and stuff, that might do the job for mine. So different end goals. So that was kind of fun to think through. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some Mona Luna fabric. This is Carolyn Freelander. Those are ones I acquired on purpose. I really like both of their stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lost count already. 6. Okay, we're ready for this group. It's surprising how much fabric is left over. So chances are I will try and sew all these pieces together for the back as well, which will make this even more crazy. So it'll be like super bright and colorful on the front, and it'll be just as bright and colorful on the back. But I think that's kind of fine. Who cares? That's nice. I think it'll be pretty. But the goal with that is then I can use up even more of this fabric. I would love that this is what this fabric, where it was meant to be, it was in this quilt and it's not anywhere else sort of thing. I do kind of think that's fun with quilts. Then it feels like, okay, the life of that fabric was meant for just this one thing. I mean, it'll probably be in scrap quilts and stuff too, but I do like the idea of trying to use up the fabric in the quilt. So it'll most likely be the back as well. I mean, there's plenty left. I'll probably cut these into more normal rectangles and squares and stuff, and then just try and kind of improv piece all those squares, different size squares and rectangles together. I think that'll be kind of my thought process for the back. We must have enough fabric from these offcuts still. Just because, I mean, just from the sheer number of fabrics that we're using. I mean, we're using 31 fabrics, different fabrics for this sashing, and they started out as fat quarters, so there's going to be plenty left for a back. It's crazy to me how far fabric goes. Like, if you have a bin of fabric and you're like, this project, I'm gonna go blast through this fabric, I'm gonna use a ton of it up, and you barely scrape the surface with like a king-size quilt. It's just crazy. The more you try and use up, the more, it doesn't look like you did a thing. You just gain quilts. So your house just gets more stuff in it than less stuff. That's what it feels like. I think we're just... Do we have one more? We might just have one more time through this. And yeah, I mean, cutting these down, it's already looking like a prettier grouping, like a more finished grouping of fabrics, I think, versus just, these big honking pieces. Yeah, Marie, I think you can just go to the Aurifill blog. I'm sure they have it on there somewhere. I think their website, for me, I think their website's a little tricky sometimes, but to maneuver. But there's probably a photo of it, and then you click on that photo. I know if you're on Instagram at all, I did see it on this morning on their stories, Instagram stories. So maybe they have it on their main Instagram page too. My guess is Pat Sloan would have it in her realm too. It's very beautiful though. Their setting. Quite different than what we're doing here. And totally worth doing. If any of you guys wanted to do quilt or like Pat Sloan's, I'd love to see how it turns out. Or if you're doing something else, please share. I can't wait. I mean, you could do anything. That's kind of the fun of it. We're just making blocks with no purpose. Assuming it'll be a quilt, but no setting or anything. I wonder, I'm guessing, but is Pat Sloan and Aurifill, are they doing, like, giving directions for how to do her setting? I'd like to think so. I think that was talked about a little bit at the start of this whole project, but I don't really remember. This is our last bit, by the way. This is, we made it through just about. So that wasn't nearly as 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Not nearly as bad as what it was in my head. Not bad, but like, well, we're not done yet either. But just, I don't know, cutting, it gets me. It just makes me, I don't know. It's not relaxing. Let's put it that way. This is not quite relaxing for me. I'm excited for tomorrow when we can actually sew some of these basic blocks together. That's going to be fun. We can just pick our favorite fabric out and then match it with our gray, and then just keep picking our favorites one at a time from this stack, basically, and the stack of leftovers of these until we have 20 done. And then the rest of the fabric, they weren't our favorite. They can live on the back. All right, 12.5. This one's awfully pretty, this purple. All right, last little scrappies. So here's that gray. So this is what we've used throughout the rest of the quilt, and it's what I want to make the, like, I want the cornerstones to have this gray in every single one. So, and maybe it's just like 1 or 2 colors at the most. So like it'll be like a cute little block like this or whatever will be a whole block, right? So that'll be the plan for tomorrow. We'll start doing those. But here we go. This feels amazing to have all of these guys done because this cutting stuff. I like having all these pieces just ready to go. So, let's just kind of play with this a little bit. Let's lay this out. I mean, we'll do a couple here. Let me move the mat, and we can kind of see, get a different sense of it again. Now that I have some nice sashing pieces. I'm going to get a little taller here so we can maybe do a little bit more. All right, so let's just throw a few out here. So if you didn't see my photo earlier, I think this will start to give you a sense of what this is going to look like. I'm just going to grab, I mean, we can only really see 4 here, so let's do this one. So these are all kind of different techniques and different looking ones. Okay, so then we would just kind of curate where these would go. And I'm thinking I probably don't want a similar color next to each other, so this one I'd probably put here. And they're going to be real fat. I mean, we'll lose a 1/4 inch on every edge, but in theory, they're going to be like these nice, chunky, sashing pieces. So, then one would go, and they're going to be on the outsides too. They're going to be all the way around. Let's put this guy like, down here. I mean, this might be awfully close to this one, so I'd probably put this somewhere else in the quilt. But anyway, it's going to be these big pieces. So you can kind of see how I'm really not showcasing the blocks. I'm trying to just like merge them all together, which is kind of fun, I think. Let's throw this guy up there. There, so those will be like so. It looks like a lot. Like it looks kind of busy, but I don't know. Like I think it not solves, but I think it does kind of meld. Like I called it soup earlier. It does kind of like mush them all together. So I'm not showcasing any of these anymore. Instead, it feels like a whole merged part of the quilt. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then this gray, I mean, it's gonna be hard to tell, but like this gray will be like will be in all the corners. So anywhere where these sashings meet will be this gray, which will bring in the gray from the rest of it, because none of the sashing is this gray. So this will bring in the gray that is in every single block. But we're going to go a little further and, you know, turn these into fancy, or like just like little squares too. So it might be like that, or, you know, whatever the block is that we're doing, you know. So maybe something like there, just something super, super simple in the middle, just for fun. It might be a little too much color. Like, this actually looks just fine blank like this, but I do think just for fun it would be neat to just for the idea of doing it anyway, even if it's not part of this quilt, just to do some simple blocks in the middle. I think that would just be fun. It's going to be a big mush of color and brightness and playfulness, and then you see the blocks after you see that. So I think that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. All right, you guys. So yeah, so I think, like I said, if you've seen Pat Sloan's setting for this, the official Aurifill setting for this, it is completely different objective. They are truly showcasing those blocks, and it looks so beautiful. You could see it across a room and want to go walk up to it. This is just going to look like a colorful melding, which is, I think, what I want. All these blocks are so different that I almost don't want to showcase them. I want them to feel like a congruent group, and I think this is going to do it. It's going to be just fun and colorful. I'm excited. It's a different thing than, like, I've never done sashing this big. It's going to feel a little different for me, but I'm going on a hunch, on a theory, and I think it's going to be fun. It's all an experiment, right? If I don't like it, then I don't ever have to do it again, big sashing like this. So that's fine. So, all right, you guys, that is that for tonight. Tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to go to the Facebook group, the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, and I'm going to look at your guys' suggestions for those simple blocks that we can do in the middle here. I'm going to make myself a list, because I don't know the names of all of them, so I'm going to make myself a list from what you guys have said, and I'm going to look them up. And then we're going to do some of those tomorrow. And they should be simple. Most of them we can do in like 5 minutes probably, which is awesome. That's going to be so fun. Especially that all of these took a lot of time, these blocks. It'll be neat to do several in one day. That'll be cool. Yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. So that's the plan, you guys. That's the rest of our free week. We moved along on this quilt. I think we moved quite along on this quilt, so that's great. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. either on YouTube or Facebook, the Penguin and Fish on either side. And have a fabulous evening. Good night.